This is Away from the Keyboards, exciting stories shared over a virtual coffee. I am your host, Rui, and today I am joined by an old colleague of mine, Valter. He has been working in data and tech for the last decade and has seen it evolve from on-prem giant infrastructure to pay-as-you-go scalable cloud. Today we will speak about his journey into tech, his advices for young folks out of college, and where he sees the industry going. So without further ado, Valter, welcome to the show.
Hey Rui, how you doing, man? Hey everyone else that is listening, how's it going?
Hey, thanks for coming. So before we deep dive into the data topics, tell me, how did it all started? What made you want to make a pursue in a career in data?
Yeah, for sure. So this might come as a surprise, or maybe it might inspire other folks, but I actually took a sidestep when I started because I did not do computer science. I actually studied biomedical engineering, so a bit more centered on the medical application of technology, if you think about it that way. But the transition actually came naturally because of my thesis. So I did my thesis in instrumentation, so I pretty much built a device, the circuits and sensors to acquire data as the device was performing its action. So I programmed the chip, so there was logic involved in there, pretty standard programming language, it was C. And then I did that data acquisition with that device and the data analysis part as well. So I ended up doing my first dive into data, constructing graphs, looking at trends, all of that. So it came kind of naturally when I got a job in computer science, so as a consultant group here in Portugal. Yeah, it came very naturally. In the end, I have to say that I really love data-related problems. So yeah, that's why I've been around working with data for most of the time. And whenever I get the chance to take a step back into a data-centric position, I always say yes.
So it was not programmed, it was kind of something that just happened.
Yeah, it kind of happened. I looked slightly for more data-oriented roles, but it happened. They ended up putting me on roles that were related to that kind of naturally.
That's cool. So that leads me to my follow-up question, which was going to be about which advices do you have for someone that is fresh out of college and looking to pursue a career in data or maybe even in IT? What kind of advices do you have if they are just doing like the first steps straight out of college?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, let's start with the gloom bit. So right now it's a challenging market for juniors. I'm not gonna lie about that. I was involved in hiring processes for the last 10 years or so as well. And 10 years ago, you would ask me like juniors were easy to hire and they were actually attractive. And nowadays, because of the shift of like less investment, less risk taking by companies, there's a lot less junior centric hiring, I would say. You go and look for specific skill sets, which usually come with 4 or 5 years more of experience. So it is a new market in a way for juniors. But it doesn't mean that there isn't space, and it doesn't mean that there isn't an area where juniors can have the edge. And I think it comes in looking at the new tech side of things, and like, because people right now in the market, they're all busy. You can vouch for that for sure. Like our jobs have never been busier, I would say. So we don't always have the time to learn what's new. And I think juniors can focus on that. So like there's all the AI centric explosion right now. If you're a junior or if you're in college, focus yourself on learning those, because then you can use that as your trump card when you're going through interviewing process and say that you can add value with that, with all the knowledge that you've already gathered, with the new tools that you know how to use, with all the stuff that you can do as fast as like seniors because you've learned how to use them now. So go that route. That's my advice.
So that's a good point. AI is not really just a substitute. It's kind of a superpower that can add to the tool belt of a junior to really help them perform at a higher level like a senior, right?
Absolutely. So you probably read about all of this vibe coding craze and how there's a big group that is opposed to it and there's a small group that says that it's the best thing that ever happened to technology. In my opinion, I'm right there in the middle. So I think vibe coding is a trap. So if you just think as that you can use AI to build a complete application, build a company around it without having the expertise, you will fail. Like AI does know how to do it and does know how to do it fast, but it doesn't know how to fix it when it's necessary. And it doesn't know how some things will be traps in the whole environment or production environment centric of things. So it's not as easy to see the big picture for AI as it is for a human being with experience. So you still need them. But if you just want to get started, like for example, in the past week, I had to do a technical test with Python, and I'm not any senior level in Python at all. Like I've worked with Python very briefly. So I know how to work with a bunch of different languages, and I can look at it, read the code, understand it, but it would take me ages to learn APIs, SDKs, all of that to do that test. And I used Cursor AI, so doing a bit of advertising, but sorry for that. I really think it's a brilliant tool. Yeah, and it helped me so much. Like I got quick started and got done with the test really, really fast. So around 3 hours, and it was a very, very long technical test. So it really boosted the productivity. And that's where I see AI becoming a thing and becoming very important, is boosting productivity for experienced people in the market, in the tech market nowadays, and allowing you to do a sidestep as well. Like, because this Python example is like, I'm strong in Scala, for example, barely no experience in Python. I could do the code really fast, understand it, improve it myself, like change some of the wording, all of that. Tell the AI to change the wording for me, which is also very useful. Like refactors, we lose so much time as senior professionals doing refactors and like restructuring some stuff, that the AI will just do it so quick. And then it comes to you as a peer review thing. Like the AI presents it to you. Oh, I did these changes. Do you want to keep them? Do you want to change them? Are these fine? You can just edit straight away. And it is your code in the end. You were just boosted in a way.
Yeah, it's a very important point that you just touch upon that, because when you mentioned Scala and at the same time you're not an experienced developer in Python, but you're an experienced developer in Scala, what really boosts the productivity of the AI is having the fundamentals of computer science and computer engineering in place, so that you can go and code in any language without having to learn the syntax, but yeah, you know how to do it. And I think that's a good piece of advice for anyone starting. It's not about the languages, it's about the fundamentals, and the fundamentals haven't changed in decades.
Yeah, that's one thing I totally agree. So it's one thing that is also very specific of the market right now. So if we look back 10 years, the market didn't have clear standards for how you should build technology. There was a lot that had to do with the company, where they had their environments, if they were on-prem or they were already on the cloud, and like the design for it, like there were too many possible tools you could take for your software development lifecycle. That changed a lot. Like the standards right now are more clear, and good tools are becoming giants, so everyone use them. So that also helps. So if you're just about to start, learn about some of those tools as well. Like you're probably going to work in Agile. Back 10 years ago, there was a mix of that with waterfall, with a lot of older stuff that now is pretty much just gone from the tech market. Learn about Jira, how to manage tickets and all of that, how to track certain performance metrics, all of that, because that's what the upper level of the company will be doing. So you'll become more familiar with processes, which will help you as well as a junior. So don't just learn the tech, learn some of the soft skills. So that's one thing there as well. Yeah.
You have been in the industry, as you mentioned, for the last decade, even maybe a bit more. What are the big changes that you saw happening since your junior days to now leading an engineering department? Because we were together back then, and at least one of the things that I remember for me, which is crazy, even going back and thinking that I was versioning code with Dropbox or other stuff, like those pieces of software that are now unstandard and even unthinkable to not version your code with Git.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are the big changes that you saw in the industry?
So yeah, I did briefly mention the cloud boom a while ago. That really changed the way software is developed for sure. And probably not everyone thinks of the main change now, but for us that lived with it, it's very clear. So we lived in a market where the hardware limitation was practically the design philosophy. So you had to tailor whatever software you were gonna build to where it was gonna run. And nowadays it's less of a thing. So optimization comes more of a cost-centric focus and less of a time hardware focus. So that's one big thing for sure. So I did mention there's a lot of foundation work, a lot of software that became either a giant or a staple in the market that makes it easier, so you know which one to pick. You don't have to fiddle with it as much anymore. There's less of a growth in the market of new things, which would lead people to chase new trends, and sometimes in a costly way. I think that got better. Of course, as a technologist, I like innovation, but there was a lot of questionable ideas in the market for the past 10 years, and nowadays it's less of that, I would say. Yeah. But yeah, I have to say I was very lucky to have lived this industry boom, because it solidifies a bunch of ideas and makes you value reliable software and already like established one and all of that. While if you asked some of the leaders of 10 years ago, they would be a bit more open to new stuff than we are right now.
And following up on the previous topic, we spoke about AIs and LLMs. As you mentioned it, it's unthinkable to not use it as well, which is a very recent piece of software that came into the market and very disruptive. Kind of reminds me back in the days when we were surviving the big data crazes and Hadoop clusters and building their all even in Raspberry Pis. So curious, what kind of trends do you foresee in the industry for the next, let's say, 3 years, 5 years down the line?
That is a very long question. Let's go at it by piece. So let's start by the Hadoop craze you mentioned there. So I was part of that one. Literally, my last professional experience was built on top of AWS EMR, Spark, and Hadoop clusters running big data applications that would never run in anything on-prem. Like, it's impossible. So it's part of that craze, and it's part of what that craze made possible. And I think we're already having a new boom of that. So the stuff that wasn't doable, wasn't automatable in a way that AI will allow us to do. And I'm pretty sure that will be part of the future of the market. And I'm pretty sure that improved productivity will definitely be part of the tech market in those 3 to 5 years trends. The thing is, if I could guess the 3 to 5 years trend, I'd probably be buying some stocks right now or working on some solutions that will become kings, because I think it's unpredictable. Like right now, it's everyone's guess what will become the new standards of the market for all the stuff that will come from these AI application trends. There's a lot of stuff that I've been looking at. Like, people are working a lot with AI agents and bots and stuff like that. Do I think that will be the future? I have my guess that probably not. Like, there's limitation and there's user interaction limitations that the AI will never do as well as a person. Like, the sensitivity part is still tricky. Like, the AI doesn't adapt to a annoyed customer as it does to a nice and polite one. So it's tricky. The models are also evolving very, very fast, as you are well aware. Like, every 6 months there's a new one, and what you worked on making possible with the previous one, the new one does it straight away. So it's like you spend that effort because you wanted to be on the edge of the market, and all of a sudden the tool under your belt just surpassed you. So it's kind of tricky. Of course, I'm not going to say don't follow that trend. Whoever has the money and has the idea, go for it. Absolutely. But if I had an idea on how to do this in a way that would be better and would become a market standard, I would definitely go and work on it. Yeah.
Yeah, we are in unpredictable times. It would be way easier 10 years ago to kind of guess where the industry was going, because we saw the booming of the cloud and they could kind of predict that cloud was going to be the future. But there wasn't that many things that were disruptive at the same time. But now with AIs and LLMs and MCP and user agents, every month it seems like something completely disruptive lands into the ecosystem. It almost feels like you're a JavaScript developer and you're getting hit with different JavaScript frameworks.
Ember, Angular, React, all the crazy. I agree. There's also a part of the new industry standards or the future that it's unpredictable to us, because it's the first time we're dealing with it, which is politics. So as we all saw, like, big tech giants are becoming part of politics in USA and some other areas of the globe. And there's also the fact that AI has not been received with open arms by all countries and continents. So there's a lot of scrutiny going into them and a lot of legislation that is, in my opinion, missing and in some cases being over applied. So we'll see. There will be a lot of influence coming from politics into how the use of AI is shaped in technology markets. So let's see how it goes. It's unpredictable as well there.
Indeed. Let's say that you are now starting in a new company. You just been given the task of building an engineering department from scratch. What would be the skills that you'd be looking for at this moment?
Man, that is a very hard question, Rui. So I would definitely put this AI augmented productivity in some part of that hiring, probably at the staff or senior level, for them to research how to make the rest of the team more efficient. So that would be definitely there. The rest of the hiring wouldn't be that different because we still need the same skill sets in general. Like some companies are saying that QAs aren't as needed anymore if you have AI to test your stuff. I agree that AI is very good at doing unit tests and some of the integration ones. It's not as good as a human to break an application. So I would still hire QAs. The rest is pretty much the same. Still need the software developers, the data engineers, the front ends or full stacks of this world. It's still the same. Still need them, even if the productivity can be augmented by the new tooling. So not that different.
One of the points that you just mentioned, it's an interesting one. There is something special about the brain of a QA and how they can break an application that still amazes me today. The way that they find things that you haven't thought about.
Man, the best example I've ever seen, it's like comparing the QA to the kid that is playing with a round, square, triangle shapes and manages to stick the triangle on the square or the round on the triangular by putting it sideways or stuff like that. And you're like, damn, why did I not think of it? And it's their first guess. It's insane. A good QA will guess something that breaks your app in the first 5 seconds. It's insane. Like they are so good at that when they are trained at doing that exploration, like just try everything approach in an app, like adding as much characters as they can into a text box, using words that you would never expect to see, and it breaks something in your and it's crazy. So yeah, they're super useful, and I think they will stay useful. I don't think AI will think the crazy things that a good QA does, because it sort of is more like educated guess. Well, the QAs at times, they just make wild guesses.
Indeed. And I think that's a great point for us to end, and an happy one. Thank you so much for coming and joining me in this wonderful conversation, Valter.
Likewise, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. See you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.